How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be going over the Succession Ninja changes. I'm going to give my feedback, my thoughts, my opinions, and break it down for you guys. If you want to see a condensed, really efficient version of this with good production quality, please check out Yellow's video. He's going to have much better in-game examples. I'm not going to have that many because I don't have access to global labs, okay? So check that out. I'm making this video because my subscribers have requested it, so I'm respecting their request. And that being said, I will actually make the Awakened Ninja video this time. The reason I didn't make it last time is because I saw Yellow's version of the video and it was so much better that I didn't feel like I needed it. But that being said, since you guys wanted it, I will be skipping through a lot of this stuff at the beginning here very quickly, relatively quickly, because we've already discussed it previously. But this will be a longer video in general. The block jump change where it can come out either the left or right, 2 extra exit points, fantastic change. Increase your unpredictability, increase the versatility of the skill. I love it, great stuff. They did take away the lingering iframe that I talked about in the previous video. Once you just select the side, it doesn't do that linger anymore. You come out pretty rapidly. So really great change. This only affects Awakened Ninja, so we're not going to talk about that. It does not affect Succession. And then coming down here, so crit chance 30% has been added for 30 seconds to the E buff, the class buff Succession Ninja. Overall, a little bit increase in damage, fantastic, I'll take it. Bit more damage in our E buff, never say no to that. Not overpowered because you can only use it once every 3 minutes. Ghost Step becoming fully iframe, really good. Hopefully this does improve some connections between Smoke's Ghost Step and other skills. I'll be discussing this a little bit more when I give my feedback a bit later on, but great change. And because it's now full iframe instead of iframe super armor, we're going to be dodging a bit more damage as well. Floor sweeping and throw kick being, you now have the option to add it onto your hotbar. Thank you for the offer, but I don't think anyone's going to take it because it's pretty useless. Shadow Stomp. So a few things have been changed here along with Shadow Clones. When you do Shadow Stomp, you can no longer hold A to do Shadow Clones. If you press A or hold A at the end of Shadow Stomp, it will go into smoke screen. This is a good change when you outside of comboing, because outside of comboing, this is going to add a lot more versatility to your Shadow Stomp and unpredictability with things that you can do after the Shadow Stomp when you can now do smoke screen so efficiently. Fantastic. Shadow Clones itself. So, okay, the Shadow Clones itself could only used to be able to be activated within 7 seconds of using Shadow Stomp if you want to use it from your hotbar, or you could use it instantly by pressing A after Shadow Stomp. Obviously, they took that instant use away, but now you're no longer restricted by the 7-second cooldown, so you can activate Shadow Clones whenever you want. I think this is going to add some combo variety to the Ninja, but overall, I've been using it a bit more recently, and it just doesn't do damage. The damage is very insignificant. The only times it does damage is when you get that air attack with it, and the only times you'd use it to get the air attack is only when you can really execute someone with it, or if you can use that and one more skill to execute someone very quickly after it, because it also air smashes along with the air attack, and air smashes is not something you want in a combo. Outside of that scenario, Shadow Clones is a very low power skill, doesn't do a lot of damage, so I would like to see a damage increase be put on the skill, or an accuracy buff to be put on the skill, just for the skill itself, not like an extended accuracy buff, or a crit damage buff, or just something. The skill needs more damage, either that or a protection, so we can use it as an extra protection skill. But I don't think Ninja needs that, to be honest. Need more protections. I'd rather just do more damage. But that being said, you can use it to down smash at the end of your combos. It does have a down smash built into it, so it is good for those scenarios. Next one, Suicide Fall. For 1v1s, it's been nerfed. It's from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. This will slightly impact some of your matchups, stuff like Guardians, Strikers, slower classes that are very protected and have very few gaps, if any, and some of those, like Striker for example, is going to have almost no gaps. I don't think it's going to have any gaps after the changes, after the reworks. So grabs are going to be very poignant in those scenarios. You're going to get nerfed there, but overall I think this is a buff. What they don't mention here is Suicide Fall's animation speed is increased, which is nice, but it's also going to be SA when successful. Big buff for 1vx and small scale. I guess maybe large, not really large. I mean, large scale in specific scenarios is going to be a buff when you're in those smaller skirmishes, I guess. You can put it that way. But yeah, big buff overall. I'll take that 5-second cooldown increase for the SA when successful. I love it. So Shadow Clones, they have reduced the cooldown, but the issue is the skill was fucking garbage with damage. So it does need that damage buff, in my opinion. That is one of my feedbacks. Heart aiming, 27-second cooldown, been reduced to 20 seconds. Good, 27 seconds was outrageous. But the main thing is you can now spam it when it's off cooldown, so you can just use it whenever you want. But that's more for Awakening, because we actually have Succession Prime Heart aiming now, which we'll get into once we get into the actual Succession skills. So next one here, Kunai Throw. Look, they increase the range when used in the air, and when you go into the air, it's a pull skill. Thank you for adding the pull skill, but please, for the love of fucking God, let us use it on the ground and just put a cooldown when you use it on the ground and no cooldown when it's used in the air for the AoE variant of the throw. Okay? Make it an 8-second cooldown, alright? So we can't just spam it, so it's not OP. Please, dude, please, don't make people fucking jump. It's going to be one of the worst pull skills in the game. It's better than no pull skill, I guess. But it's now going to be one of the worst, if not the worst pull skill in the fucking game. Because you have to jump. And this is terrible for newer ninjas. It's really bad muscle memory for them. It's not good for new ninjas to be jumping. Ever. Because in PvP, you never want to jump unless you're jumping off a fucking cliff to do some stupid shit. You never want to jump in fucking PvP. So please, don't do this. It's not good for newer ninjas learning the class because they're learning bad muscle memory for PvP in their PvE. So add a way for us to do this on the ground, please. Ninja Evasion has been nerfed, I guess, or buffed in terms of increased jump distance. Nerfed because the iframe has become a super armor, but everyone locks it, so I don't think it really matters. They've made it better, easier for doing Ghost Greeting and Smokescreen. They've also increased the animation of Ghost Greeting. It's somewhere down here. A lot of this is just bug fixes and stuff. I'm not going to go over bug fixes. But that's basically it. That's pretty much it. I think maybe I've missed one or two very insignificant things here in the pre-awakened kit. But overall, good changes. The only suggestions I would make is some type of more damage or some type of utility added to Shadow Clone and improve the fucking pull skill. Please don't make people jump. I'm begging you, bro. Don't do it. But overall, really well done. But let's scroll down now and look at the Succession changes. I'm going to be spending a lot of time when I talk about the gaze posture, which means alert stance. So, first one here, they've just added some hair types and costume portraits or some, I don't know, dude. The default portrait changed. Who cares? Doesn't really matter. Let's get into the good stuff. So they've added Prime Heart aiming. We slightly touched on it earlier. Difference between Prime and Absolute. It's got an extra hit, same crit rate. It loses 30% accuracy, but gains 15% accuracy buff for 3 seconds. So that's a really big buff right there. A lot of things that, well, one of the main issues ninjas complain about is the fact that when you're going up against evasion targets, ninja feels adversely affected by that evasion. It's really hard to apply damage. This is going to help a lot. 15% is pretty significant, but it's only for 3 seconds, so it's only going to help a lot within comboing. I would like to see if ninjas start using this, somehow incorporate this to do chip damage. I don't think it would be easy to do. I will try as well myself to try and incorporate it, but the reason it's not going to be easy because 3 seconds isn't a long time. That's only really enough to get 2 of your SA skills off, because SA skills are not as fast as some of the other skills that are unprotected on the ninja kit. So to be able to do that trade damage with the extra accuracy, you'd have to be in a position where your opponent can CC you, and heart aiming is unprotected. So it is going to be hard to use those in those scenarios, but maybe there's a way we can make it work. I'm going to be keeping an eye on a lot of other ninjas to see how they use it, but primarily in terms of comboing evasion targets, fantastic change. Overall, I love it, really good. Obviously, if you could extend the duration of 3 seconds, that'd be great, but maybe it's a bit too strong. But overall, great change. So over here, they say the gaze posture skill has been improved. I don't know exactly what they mean. When they talk about gaze posture, for those that don't know, they are referring to alert stance. I don't know exactly what they mean by this, if they're talking about the animation connections. I can't tell until I get my hands on it, but if they have made connection improvements, thank you very much, I'll take those. But a lot of stuff happen. A lot of stuff's happened with alert stance. So one of the big ones here is super armor. A lot of expert ninjas say this doesn't make a lot of difference for Succession Ninja. I'd like to say at the beginning, when this change first comes out, I think they're right, but I think over time, this is going to be a huge buff in terms of having SA in this movement. Now, the reason people say that, oh, you know, it's not a big difference, because good ninjas don't get caught in their alert stance as is, because it's such a fast skill, and 1v1s and like small scale 1vx, it's really hard for people to catch your alert stance. Obviously in large scale, when there's multiple people around you, at that point it's a straight buff. Even good ninjas can't argue that. But they say, well, you know, because it's so hard, like for a good ninja, this makes almost no difference, but it's going to help bad ninjas. Yes and no. Yes, that's right, but it's going to also increase our avenue in terms of how we can use the skill. Let me give you an example. Right now, I don't fucking go anywhere near a striker with alert stance because they got so many protected CCs. And if I'm gearing up to go into an alert stance and I see that guy is about to charge that mass destruction, I'm fucking going the other way, son. So now that it's protected, I'm gonna feel a lot safer staying close to the striker with my alert stance movement to try and bait out a grab when my block jumps off cooldown to punish the grab, or just go step away from the grab and punish the grab with a smoke screen after. But not just striker. Like, I'm just thinking striker because it's a matchup I know well. But just a lot of different classes, a lot of different scenarios it's hard to think of until you're in it, that you're going to be able to use your alert stance a lot more aggressively now. A lot more aggressively. So it's going to add a few more windows of opportunity of how you can use it. Just to give you another small example, let's say in a 1v2, there's a shy, it's got the bubble up, but you need to get past the bubble. If there's an angle that you get past the bubble in with your alert stance, it's going to give you a good position to CC your opponent. Now you can go through the bubble with the alert stance if you just cut the side of it. You wouldn't be able to do that in the past. Another huge one that I'm just thinking of is, let's say I'm going against the Hashashin, right? He's using Sin Splitter, Awaken Hashashin, using Sin Splitter. I can now alert stance follow him to grab him at the end, or smoke screen at the end of the alert stance, or Fox Claw at the end of the alert stance, or Beheading at the end of the alert stance to catch the end of it. Before, if I was to do alert stance and he's coming at me or through me with the Sin Splitter, I'm guaranteed to get CC. So, no, just a couple of things off the top of my head. Like, there's a lot more that, you know, we're going to figure out over time as time goes on. So I would say this is a very significant buff to alert stance. So I would contradict some other people's opinions on that. That being said, they've also added alert stance to 2 skills. One of them is decent, that's the Black Moonlight. I think that's a decent option. It's going to add more versatility to the skill Black Moonlight in terms of using it as a catch and using it as a re-CC. But I don't think it's going to be used too much as movement. Now let me explain. I will use Malice, Evasion Malice, and Smokescreen even if I know I can't CC my opponent to use the movement portion, the alert stance, to reposition. I do that pretty consistently. There's sometimes you have to do that. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be using Black Moonlight to be able to use the alert stance as a movement skill. You understand what I'm saying? So, but what I do think it does is it adds versatility to the skill itself, so it's now more consistent to use as catches. Another thing they've done with Black Moonlight is they've increased the range, the AoE of the skill, the ranged AoE portion of the skill. So now we've got a bit more versatility of trying to use it as a catch, and I love using it as a re-CC. One of my main combos uses Black Moonlight to stiff my opponent when they're standing up, and then what I'd normally do after is Ghost Step Stomp or Shuriken Throw Stomp, right? That would be one of the 2 options I'll take. Normally I'll take Ghost Step Stomp after the Black Moonlight. Now in a 1vx, I'm going to be able to do my SA, move back, put my forward guard up with the, after using Black Moonlight with the alert stance, and then I can gauge what's happening and then see, okay, I'm safe, I'll go in and hit him with the Shadow Stomp. And it's just as fast. If you don't need to take your time to think about it. It's almost just as fast, if not just as fast, as Ghost Step Stomp using alert start Stomp after. So adds a bit more versatility in that combo, adds a bit more what's the right word? About a bit more utility to Black Moonlight as a skill in total. I don't think it's going to be used as a movement skill. However, sometimes maybe it's worth using it to bring that FG up if you're trying to block some damage and you don't have any other options. Now, the next one here, the big one, Beheading alert stance. This is huge. Beheading is already a very powerful, strong skill, very good at catching people. There's two ways you can use Beheading. You got the animation cancel version of Beheading, which basically is, let's say, Shadow Slash Beheading or Alert Stance Beheading. It does a fast version of the skill where the first and second hits come out very quickly, and your animation locked until the second hit is complete, and then you can do whatever you want after that. So that's one, okay? Number two is the regular version. Let's say you just do Ninja Step Beheading. That will do regular Beheading. If you let that go all the way, it's a very slow, it does the first hit, really long pause into second hit. So it's a longer total skill, but you can cancel right after the, you'd never want to let both hits go off. You'd always want to cancel after the first hit. With Ghost Step or Smokescreen or Malice, might be one or two other skills that I'm forgetting here, or like console doesn't have access to because of, anyway. But you'd always want to cancel it after Beheading, okay? The first animation of Beheading with probably Ghost Step. So that is the actual better version in terms of catching people, right? If you're using Beheading as damage, it's different, but if you want to catch people, especially good players, you want to use fast Beheading. Now, before, what I've been practicing to do, which I stopped when I heard about this change, was I put Beheading on my hotbar. So when I do alert stance, I use hotbar Beheading so I can do the regular slow animation of Beheading and then instantly cancel after the first hit into Ghost Step. This is important because when you're going against good players, one of the key signs when they see you alert stance, there's a good chance you might Beheading. So when I play against another ninja and I see them alert stance, I'm trying to get myself in a position to punish a Beheading if they decide to use it. You're taking that option away from your opponent, and you can even counter it. Let's say it's easy to talk about a mirror matchup, right? Let's say you do alert stance, and you do fast Beheading. Your opponent is another ninja positioned away so he doesn't get hit by the Beheading, the first hit. He sees you go through the first hit, and then he does his own Ghost Step Stomp to punish your Beheading. Well, if you do the hotbar version, you can do alert stance, first hit of Beheading, cancel with Ghost Step so he misses his Shadow Stomp, and then punish the Shadow Stomp. It's actually really strong against, like, when you're playing against good players that know the matchups. It's really good to have this in your back pocket, but now you don't need to do that. So you don't need to have that skill on your hotbar anymore because of this alert stance change. It now allows you to cancel either animation of the Beheading, the slow or the fast, with alert stance at almost any point. And this is huge because it's going to add a lot more versatility to the skill. It's adding a movement skill that's more than Ghost Step, that's now SA and ends in an FG. The extra amount of versatility in the blade, the extra amount of defensive capabilities after using Beheading is huge, and it lets you pretty much always use the faster double hit version of Beheading and judge whether or not you need to alert stance. So if I do Shadow Slash Beheading and I'm like, oh, my opponent's trying to run away, so I can just let my second hit go off to get some extra damage, or I do my first hit and I'm like, oh shit, he's moving towards me, he's coming to punish, boom, alert stance. So really, really significant change right there for the Beheading, the alert stance being added to it. So overall, really good. And then there's a little nerf. Now, this nerf, I think a lot of ninjas are saying it's not too bad. I hope they're right. I'm a bit more skeptical and I'm a bit more worried. It's the change to the Stam Regen. Currently, right now in live, when you do alert stance, after it takes after it takes some stamina for using the alert stance skill itself, it allows you to regenerate stamina. After this change, after you take the stamina for using alert stance, it's locked at whatever point it goes down to, which is gonna, in my opinion, be very difficult for ninjas to work around. And the most thing I'm worried about is when I'm low stamina, I can no longer linger forward guards with alert stances to get a little bit of Stam Regen to do another movement skill. I'm kind of forced to really rely a lot more on my SAs to linger to get stam back. And outside of 1v1, if 1v1 it causes some issues, but it's a lot easier to work your way out of those issues in a 1v1 because you've got more freedom of movement. when it comes to 1vx, xvx, small scale, large scale, dude, like, you can't linger SAs, my friend. You will die. Evasion or not, you will die. So I'm a bit more skeptical because, again, I don't think you understand how bad it is. When you have no stamina and you're doing alert stance, you can't go step out of it. You can't shadow slash out of it. You're forced to, let's say if you want to do a movement skill, you're forced to take the risk of doing one of your SA movements that's unprotected at the beginning, something, let's say, like Shuriken Flight or Crescent Slash or Ankle Cutter. Ankle Cutter being the best option because it's the fastest out of all of them. But then that's, again, leaves you unprotected. So, okay, well, the guy's in a position to CC you because you're low stamina, he's chasing you, you've used the alert stance. If that's out of the window, you have to protect yourself. Well, that means now you're going to have to use like a Blade Spin or a Red Rain. And Blade Spin's got a gap on it, especially on console. It's a larger gap because of the way the hotbar skills work here. Is a pretty significant gap. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult when you're low stamina and alert stances. The alert stance is going to get you caught a lot. But over time, I will say, I think we can adapt, and hopefully it's not as difficult. It's not going to be too difficult to adapt, and it is adaptable, and it's not one of those things that's going to cuck you more times than it's not. And again, in terms of just moving around, you're going to be it's going to be a lot fucking harder to deal with stamina. Apologize for swearing, but it's going to be a lot harder to deal with stamina management and movement. Let me just give you an example of why. Right now, do this. Do Ghost Step, Smoke Screen, Alert Stance, or let's say Ghost Step, Evasion Malice, Alert Stance, Ghost Step, Shadow Slash. That movement changes a lot of fucking stamina usage, right? Well, it's going to be worse after the changes, because right now, during that Alert Stance movement, you're getting some Stam Regen. After, you're not getting that Stam Regen anymore. So it's going to cuck us even more in just using regular movement skills when the alert stance is being used. We're not getting that little bit of Stam Regen that we would have before getting into our next skill. And currently, as of right now, without the extra alert stance skills being put in, managing Succession Ninja stamina is not an easy thing to do. You can't just spam your alert stance, Ghost Step, and Shadow Slash. No fucking way. You'll lose stamina so quick. Even as it is right now, we have to linger our SAs and we have to linger the alert stance to get some Stam Regen to be able to keep the flow of motion in combat. Now we're not going to have the option to linger. After the changes, we're not going to have the option to linger our FG on the alert stance to get any Stam Regen. I think that might be a bit more detrimental than what PA are giving it credit for. And like I said, I'm skeptical. I just want ninjas to keep a close eye on this after it goes live. And, you know, maybe there are workarounds that I'm just not thinking of, and maybe it's easier to work around it than I give it credit for. But if it's not, and other people are finding that this is really hurting the way that you can play ninja, is really, like, yeah, you've got all these extra skills, but you're fucking stuck in a box lingering all the time because your stam is fucked, then I would like people to give feedback for this to be reverted. But as of right now, yes, we've got quite a lot of buffs to the alert stance, so I think it is warranted, but I'm just hoping it's not as bad as I'm imagining it to be in my head. So please, everyone, keep an eye on it. Make sure you give your feedback, and hopefully, if necessary, PA will revert the change if it is required in the future. So yeah, I spent a lot of time there talking about alert stance, but that's the biggest thing I want to give my feedback on. Next one here. So the passive for ninja has been changed. They've kept the attack power the same, 12 and 12. This was a melee evasion rate plus 2.5%, which is basically useless, which is now turned into an all evasion rate plus 10%. It's just a typo over here. This is melee evasion. It's not all evasion on ninja currently. So if you are an evasion ninja, this is a decent buff. You're definitely going to feel the tankiness as an evasion ninja. As a DR ninja, I don't think you're going to feel anything. It's going to make zero difference. So this is going to only help ninjas that are using evasion gear. It's not going to help ninjas that are using DR. And you know why people are using DR on ninja, bro? It's because there's accuracy issues on ninja, which we've already discussed, right? and we just need that extra damage to burst people down. The problem is when you go evasion, even if you're full AP evasion, you're not really tanky, right? And after this change, you're going to be a bit tankier, but you're still, unless you're using evasion accessories, you're not going to be tanky in the sense that people think tank. Like, if you're not going to be like a striker mystic, right? You need to put those extra accessories on to get there. Well, that's useless because as a ninja, you want to be an assassin killing people. So people went evasion with AP accessories to be like, okay, I just want to be able to tank enough damage so I'm not instantly dying in my blade spins and red rains, so I can kill people. Because as much as dishing out damage is important, being able to absorb enough damage to get your damage off is equally as important. So this does help on that front, but both sets are losing this 2.5% accuracy. This is going to be significant for both Awakening and Succession. Succession has a workaround when it comes to comboing people in 1v1s, and if you're able to do it, it's got a bit more, you can work around it in certain scenarios in 1vx with the heart aiming change. Because overall that is going to be more accuracy gain than loss. But in terms of just trading, you're losing damage potential, but if you're evasion, you're increasing your tankiness. If you're DR, you're just losing damage potential, you're not really getting any tankiness in return. So, that being said, I really hope they just add this 2.5% evasion back to the passive somehow, not evasion, accuracy back to the passive somehow, or to a different passive, like you know how Ninja has the passive where it gives you extra attack speed? Put this in there as well, bro. Please don't take accuracy away from Ninja. Don't do it, don't do that. We don't need that. We need the accuracy. We already have to get extra accessories. This 2.5% is not something I want to see gone. Another way you could reincorporate it, it's not as good as giving it to a passive where you can have access to it all the time, but even if you just to add it to like to one of the skills, here's a 2.5% accuracy buff for 10 seconds. You can add that to like Ninja Step, you can add it to Blade Spin, you can add it to Heart Aiming, oh no, not Heart Aiming, we've already got that. Not Heart Aiming, you can add it to Fatal Blow, you can add it to, I don't know, Malice, you can add it to anything, Shadow Stomp. Even, hey, you know what? You can add it to the fucking shitty skill that you changed, the clones, the shadow clones. I'd rather added something a bit more useful than that, but that's something, right? And both Succession and Awakening would then have access to it if you add it to one of the pre-awakened skills. Okay, that being said, moving on to Blade Spin. So, Blade Spin along with a bunch of other skills, we're going to see down here, Blade Spin, Foxclaw, Moonlight, Shuriken Flight have all had a PvE 50% crit rate chance added to it. This Dark Frenzy also has 50%, but it's for PvP as well. It went from 40% to 50% for PvE and PvP. But all these skills now have 50% PvE crit rate. This is a nice, decent buff to damage and PvE. Succession desperately did need this. And you can now get to 100% crit rate. The way you would do it is you put a tier 3 add-on in either Blade Spin or Black Moonlight, which will give you 30% crit hit rate bonus. And then if you have 5 crit rate on your character sheet, that will give you an extra 20% crit. 20 plus 30 is 50, 50 plus 50 is 100. Now, traditionally as a ninja, you want to use the Frenzy Drought when grinding. If you just use a Frenzy Drought and you want to keep your PvP crystal build, you're traditionally going to have around 3 attack crit rate on your character sheet. So you would only have 92% crit rate on these skills, but that's still pretty significant. So that's still really, really good. If you really want to have 100%, you can always pop the that perfume. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the perfume that gives you the extra crit rate on your sheets to take it up to 5. So great PvE damage buffs and very well needed. An extra thing that Blade Spin got is that the animation speed of Blade Spin has been increased, so you no longer need to press space. The space bar or A or X depending on what platform you're on. You don't need to do that, always does the quick version, and it actually gets a little bit of a damage boost here, because previously when we sped up the animation of Blade Spin, we lost the animation, the damage from the full animation of the skill. It cut some of the damage off. Now we get that full damage in the faster version of the skill that requires us to press one less input, you know, saving some hand degradation, you could say. So a good change over there. Next one here, Foxclaw. They said that PvP damage is the same, so they've increased the damage for PvE, but then increased the PvP damage reduction modifier. The PvP damage is the same, PvE damage increased. Again, Succession really needed this, so well done. We discussed Black Moonlight already. It has got a wider range of hits, and it's got 50% crit rate. Red Moonlight, it's got 100% crit rate. Fantastic, needed it. More damage. Again, it specifically said in the previous patch notes, this is a PvE damage buff only, so PvP damage will be the same. That's why the PvP damage reduction has increased. Dark Frenzy. Now, this did get a damage increase. It also got a damage reduction for PvP increase. But they didn't say that the damage is going to be the same. And I think one of the reasons is because it also did get the 10% crit rate. So obviously that's going to increase the damage of it. And it's got the down attack. Hopefully there's a little bit more damage getting squeezed out from the numbers here as well, even after the increased damage reduction. Because currently it doesn't do any damage, like barely any fucking damage. It's very, very insignificant chip. If it can be relatively significant chip, this is going to be useful. It's not just an FG skill to block damage, it can be an FG skill to trade a little bit, which would help a lot. But the extra down attack, if this is significant enough to execute people or to do significant damage to people, this would be great. Let's say you get your SA grab in your 1v2 or 1v3, you do your new fucking SA grab, you go step back, you do Dark Frenzy because your opponent's coming at you and throwing skills at you, you block that damage, and then you can reposition, I don't know, you can do a reposition like Ninja Step, Animation Cancelled, Foxclaw, Ghost Step, Stomp, some shit, Ghost Step, Blade Spin, whatever it is to execute the person on the ground. So it adds more variety to what you can do to down targets if it's enough damage to be significant, which would be great. I'd always want more tools to be able to deal with different situations. So if you give it to me, I'll use it as best I can. Another one, talking about tools, this is a great one. Very small change. Removed Air Smash. Fucking huge impact for Ninja. I love it. It's going to give you a bit more combo variety for 1v1. But in terms of 1vx, small scale, large scale, dude, this is going to be one of your best re-CCs that you're going to have. Like Crescent Slash is another good one. This is going to be a really good one now that it doesn't Air Smash. Because if you didn't know, Air Smash actually reduces your float CC timer. People will get up faster if you float Air Smash than if you were just to float. So, really good change. Appreciate that one. Malice, they mentioned PvP damage is going to be the same, so it did get 2 extra hits, but it got a significant, like an 18.8% damage reduction increase. Same here for 2 extra hits for Prime, the Evasion Malice, again 18.8%, but it did reduce the stamina consumption here a little bit. This does help slightly with the stamina issues that we discussed earlier, but you got 4 alert stances that are reduced, that are stopping the Stam Regeneration, and then there's one skill, one of the alert stances has a slightly better stamina drain on it. So, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to be enough, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, we'll have to see what happens when it comes to in-game. But PvP damage is going to be the same, PvE damage increase. All these PvE damages are really needed. I'm hoping Succession Ninja's PvE is going to be significantly better than it is now, because right now it's really bad. But here, this is interesting. It's let's see, what is this, like an 11-12% PvP damage reduction increase, right? So keep that in mind. Let's go up here real quick. So this was an 18% for 2 extra hits at 1444, right? And that's how much they need to increase the damage reduction by to keep the PvP damage the same. Well, if you look over here, we get more than, this was less than doubled, like 2 extra hits, 3 extra hits at almost the same damage with a lower damage reduction. I got a feeling that Beheading is going to chunk motherfuckers, dude. I hope it is. If it's as much damage as I'm picturing in my head, if it does, because right now, the second hit of Beheading is really good damage, and that's getting a damage increase. The first hit is now going to get the damaged increased version of the second portion of the beheading skill. So both the hits are going to hit equally as hard and do more damage, but there is a damage decrease. So I think what's going to happen is overall it's going to be more damage, but the second hit is actually going to do less damage than it currently does, if that makes sense. We're getting a huge damage buff in the first hit, which is increasing our overall damage of beheading, but just the second hit itself in a vacuum, because of this PvP damage reduction, is going to do less damage. But that's fine with me, because that makes the beheading cancelling the first portion of the beheading with the new alert stance even more effective. So I'll fucking take that. Really good change, really like it. And overall damage increase, that's great. I mean, to get to the second, I mean, even if the second hit is decreased, you're going to be hitting the first hit before the second hit. So it's a damage increase by the looks of it overall, and I'm really excited to see how that's going to be. This one is only for PC players. It's just to make their lives a bit easier. Right now on PC, from going from Red Rain into Dark Frenzy, they have to press SC, which is a bit harder than just pressing S right click. That's really easy to do on a keyboard. For console, I don't think this makes much of a difference. It makes zero difference if you've got Elite controllers or paddles on your controllers or Scuff controllers. So that's for them to make their lives easier, but for us, it's insignificant. This one, I'm really happy they put this in here. It should prioritize Fox Claw over Alert Stance, which it does not currently do, and I really hope they fix this, because there's a lot of times I'm lingering my fucking smoke screen, and opponent is too far away for me to grab him. I don't want to use even my beheadings on cooldown, or I don't want to use beheading because I might get CC'd out of it, where the Fox Claw would be perfect, but I can't. So please fix it. Please fix it. Anyway, and it's also the animation cancel of Fox Claw that it does, which is even just juicier, dude. But that's pretty much it. This last one here doesn't really matter. You should not be throwing shurikens sideways. They fixed the bug where you're using more stamina than you should have if you're running to the side and throwing shurikens. If you're doing that, fucking stop, bro. But that's all the changes. Overall, look, my opinion is really well done across the board for the Succession Ninja changes. My few pieces of feedback for Ninja would be, just to summarize it, let's quickly go back up here, get past all this Kunai garbage. So, some extra utility added to Shadow Clone or more damage. What you could do is add that 2.5% accuracy to Shadow Clone. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be added somewhere else, but just to revert that nerf that we got in the passive, that would be great. The rest of it here, or at least I think I already mentioned damage increase Shadow Clone. I think I just mentioned that, but I think, oh yeah, the pull skill. Please add a way for us to be able to use the pull skill without jumping, and just add a cooldown on it. I'm begging you. Keep the, like, yo, you can jump and use the pull skill as often as you want, but if you throw a shuriken on the ground, that shuriken throw will have an 8-second cooldown, and when it's off cooldown, it will do the pull skill. So that's that. The alert stance, Stam lock. Hopefully PA will just keep a close eye on this, and us as a community, after the changes have been done, if we think it's a bit too far, it's restricting our movement too much because it's too hard to control that stamina usage, and I'd like them to revert that. But they have got a lot of buffs here, so I do understand why they've wanted to take something away from alert stance, but we'll see. I think just the additional alert stance in the kit with how much stamina Succession Ninja already uses is enough, so you can't just spam these new alert stances off cooldown. You still have to be very careful how you use them and manage your stamina properly. I don't think this is needed, but I could be wrong, so please, Ninja community, keep an eye, and BDO devs, make sure to revert this change if required. Okay, and here's my biggest piece of feedback. I need Shadow Slash to connect better out of the skills. Ghost Step Shadow Slash to get CC. It's actually a lot harder to CC people from PC doing this. I've been playing on PC a decent amount, and I do sometimes get CC'd out of it, but a lot of the times where I would get CC'd on console, I don't get CC'd on PC just because the animations cancel in faster frames. and it just reduces that gap pretty significantly. But dude, over here on console, we need this change. It will help PC a little bit, it will help console exponentially, okay? Look, Ghost Step, Shadow Slash, gap, you get CC'd. Any kind of SA Linger, Shadow Slash, you get fucking CC'd, bro. Why? Blade Spin, Shadow Slash, CC'd. Crescent Slash, SA portion, any of the movement skills. So, for example, Crescent Slash, Shuriken Fly, Ankle Cutter. Any of these threes, when you get to the SA portion of it, where you're lingering, if you go into Shadow Slash, you get fucking CC'd. SA into SA, you get fucking CC'd, bro. Now, what I need is Ghost Step, Shadow Slash to get the gap removed. I would preferably like all skills to be able to use Shadow Slash after with no gap, so I can have a bit more versatility in the skill itself. But the main reason I need Ghost Step to get this fully protected movement is, look, here's a trick. If you want to CC a ninja and you really don't know what to look for, just throw a fucking throw a CC after his Ghost Step. When I'm finding really good ninjas and they're protecting themselves really well, I will just throw Beheading of the Deads after their Ghost Step. I see them Ghost Step, I do Beheading and then cancel with Ghost Step myself. Because a lot of the times I'll just fucking get the CC. Why? Because there's very limited options after Ghost Step for you to protect yourself as a ninja. One option is Smokescreen. Another option is Red Rain, which is a terrible fucking option if you're going against the grab class. Definitely not recommended. And finally, the third option is Ghost Step. Not Ghost Step. Ninja Step, sorry. And that's the good one. Ninja Step's the good one. Smokescreen's another good one. And then Red Rain is a terrible one to protect yourself. Console, we don't have Blade Spin as an added option to protect ourselves with the Ghost Step because we have fucking shitty ring menu stuff that means that when we do Blade Spin after Ghost Step, we're going to get CC'd if someone times the CC in between the skills. So that's one less option already for console right there. And everything else is unprotected. Any other of the movement skills that you want to do after Ghost Step will be unprotected. Any other skill you want to do after Ghost Step will be unprotected. Whether it's Crescent Slash, Shuriken Fly, Ankle Cutter, Evasive Malice, Regular Malice, Beheading, Black Moonlight. Fucking, what else is there, dude? Think of all the skills. Fox Claw. Anything you do after that, outside of those three, and one of those options is a shit option. So you've got two good options and one shit option to protect yourself after Ghost Step. And in combat, you need to be using Ghost Step after every fucking skill. Once you're disengaging a little bit or got some distance, then you can, you don't need to use Ghost Step after every skill. But when you're in the flow, it's skill, Ghost Step, skill, Ghost Step, skill, Ghost Step, skill, Ghost Step. That's how you have to do. That's what you have to do. And you've only got 2 protect options after your Ghost Step. So against good players, yeah, you know how they fucking CC you? If they don't know what they're doing, if they're good enough, they realize they can just fucking throw a CC at your Ghost Step and they've got a good chance of CCing you. So please allow us to use that goddamn, the goddamn Shadow Slash to protect ourselves. Alright, and that's it. That's all my feedback, guys. Long video. If you made it all the way through, leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. If you did like the video, if you think it is helpful, even though it is long, please share it in the community. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode.